Engines fueled by human blood, vehicles crushing dozens of bodies, corpses infested with maggots hanging in the air. Surprisingly, all this violence appeared in a film that received a 6-minute standing ovation at the Cannes Film Festival. Hello and welcome back to Movie Honey. Nearly a decade after the release of Fury Road, the Mad Max franchise has been rebooted by its creator George Miller with the prequel Furiosa in the Mad Max Saga. If you are a fan of the fantasy action blockbuster Mad Max, then you are no stranger to the Desert Warrior Furiosa, and this month, she will be writing her own story before the events of Fury Road. Will the glory of 9 years ago once again be reenacted by Furiosa? Here is my review of Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. Spoiler alert for those who haven't seen the movie, especially if you are a die-hard fan of the series. Now, let's get started with the video. Furiosa, a Mad Max saga brings the backstory of Furiosa after she was captured from her refuge at the green place of many mothers. Behind the kidnapping plot is the biker horde, led by warlord Dementis. To rescue her daughter, Mary sacrificed her life pursuing Furiosa and was executed by Dementis right in front of her child. Furiosa grew up with a vendetta, her childhood spent surviving the harsh battles of the vast deserts, while the tyrants Dementis and Immortan Joe jostle against the rule over their stronghold. Furiosa trained herself into a warrior, planning to cross the wasteland to return to her homeland, the Green Place, and fulfill her goal of repaying an old blood debt. George Miller, who has been attached to the Mad Max franchise across 4 films, always knows how to fully exploit the characteristics of this series. Right from the opening scene, Furiosa gets straight to the point, plunging the audience into a breathless chase. It takes less than 10 minutes for the audiences to nod approvingly, signaling the return of the Mad Max saga. What follows is the illumination of the root problems, closely following the main character to rationalize her motives and build up to the climax. Therefore, although nearly 2.5 hours long and with a script of moderate to lengthy duration, thanks to the fast and decisive pacing, Furiosa does not feel dragged out. Furthermore, the film maximizes the reduction of scenes depicting emotions, internal dialogues, or rambling confessions with the aim of focusing on the quality of its characteristic action. Throughout the duration of the film, what we see is soaked in violent bloodshed, fiery combat sequences, and heavy weaponry and vehicles. As the film progresses, the antagonism intensifies, compelling viewers to follow the unfolding narrative. The script is cleverly adorned with a plethora of dark yet goofy humor, helping to ease the audience's tension. Furiosa manages the viewer's emotions well, and with its linear storytelling, it doesn't take long to connect with the plot. However, this script by Miller reveals a weakness in not sufficiently clarifying the underlying process. Additionally, the Australian director uses multiple time skips, which makes the character development and relationships between them seem rather rushed. Particularly, the connection between Furiosa and Jack is one aspect I believe could have been better explored. Fundamentally, the film follows a very straightforward trajectory, but upon closer inspection, there are details that need revisiting to fully understand their role in the overall narrative. Currently, the film industry is gradually emphasizing psychological and political elements, while Mad Max remains purely commercial entertainment. Will the audience be satisfied with what Furiosa offers? The answer is yes. The essence of Mad Max, with its anti-utopian themes, inherently carries human decay and class disparities stemming from reality. With Furiosa, George Miller also introduces a somewhat sensitive step in today's film industry, namely feminism. Indeed, making a feminist film at this time is quite a daring decision, as the public is gradually turning away from productions labeled as wokeism movies. It's not surprising that we have blockbusters like this and this. Certainly, the story of a female warrior might raise some skepticism, but I think Miller has been in the entertainment industry long enough to know when to be woke and when not, and Furiosa is fully deserving of becoming a feminist voice. The film will not pursue an extreme message or seek to glorify toxic feminism. The feminist element in the movie is blended just right, delving into the inner strength of women like Furiosa and Mary. That's all there is to it. No condemnation, no demanding rights, just letting the characters establish their own value. Furiosa fights on par with other warriors, even being actively recruited by Jack. Mary, on her own, protects her child from the wild abductors, preferring to die rather than submit. The only detail where a female character is in a vulnerable position is Joe's wife. Living on par with mobile wombs, they breed and provide breast milk for the man they call their husband. At the end of the movie, the script allows Furiosa to share the fruits of her vengeance with those girls. The peach that grew from the seed she planted in Dementis's body, a price she paid with a lifetime of hatred, is now shared with Joe's harem. In the credit scenes, they accompany Furiosa on her journey home, symbolizing liberation and enlightenment. Ultimately, the feminist element in Furiosa is constructed concisely, directly, and fulfills its role in the story very effectively. And if we were to compare Furiosa to any other installment in the Mad Max saga, I can confidently say it holds its own. Although it may not be as gripping as Fury Road, it still preserves the spirit of the classic Mad Max brand. And believe me, the qualities that have made Mad Max a household name will continue in Furiosa, especially with the franchise's creator, George Miller, at the helm. As we've mentioned above, Furiosa does not indulge in rambling internal monologues. So how do the characters reveal their personalities? Through action, of course. Indeed, the film presents us with a courageous Furiosa, right from the start, kidnapped by a group of formidable bikers, yet she refuses to shed a tear, scheming to sever their fuel lines instead. A reckless and cunning leader Dementis, quick in action but not in thought, and the ambitious and deceitful warlord Immortan Joe, regardless of their screen time. Each character in Furiosa thoroughly exposes their personality with minimal need for dialogue, and pay attention to the dialogues between characters. They are all quite short, superficial, and don't fully capture the depth of emotion. Initially, I thought this was a flaw in the screenplay, but towards the film's climax, we are treated to a rather fascinating exchange between the antagonist and protagonist. In fact, the director reserved screen time for this dialogue, making it as memorable as the pulse-pounding action scenes and culminating in one of the most valuable endings ever in the Mad Max saga. It's evident that the screenplay is influenced by its central theme. However, it is from this that the film reveals its biggest flaw, which lies in its central character, Furiosa. As all the viewer's attention and every aspect of the film are seen through her eyes and reach the audience, her character does not seem to be effectively explored. Furiosa is perhaps one of the rare main characters on screen whose dialogue is minimal, almost equivalent to a secondary character. This approach somewhat obscures a comprehensive view of her, yet I still assert that Furiosa stands out more than any other character in the film. Why, you ask? Anya Taylor-Joy is the answer. Successful in embodying a variety of roles, from a witch to a lady or a prodigy, the 28-year-old actress proves a reliable choice for unconventional roles. With Furiosa, she boldly declares that she doesn't need much dialogue. Her expressions and physicality alone can be a sharp weapon. Anya has fully utilized her physicality, facial features, and particularly her eyes to portray her character, ensuring that she does not solely rely on her natural appearance. Anya tightly controls the range of her actions while displaying sharp expressive abilities. In Furiosa, Anya completely sheds the traditional damsel image associated with her. The success of Furiosa is built on the performances of two actresses. Alongside Anya Taylor-Joy, we cannot overlook the commendable performance of Lila Brown as young Furiosa. Initially, I thought the young Furiosa phase would be brief, given the character's demands for extensive professional skills. Yet Lila's screen time is quite significant compared to the total duration. This means that the young actress had to perform many challenging action sequences, portraying realism and skill. Essentially, whatever Anya does, Lila had to do similarly, just at a different intensity level, and given her young age, her performance is highly commendable. Thanks to the consistency in their acting, Furiosa's character remains consistent and mature throughout the film, aided by Miller's storytelling techniques. It seems Furiosa has successfully fulfilled its role as the protagonist. The charm of Mad Max is perhaps its daring, wild, and chaotic nature, often reserved for the protagonists. Furiosa has inherited this aspect and even excels at it, but the film's main antagonist does not quite deliver what the audience needs. For me, Dementis is a strong antagonist, but not terrifying enough for the audience to empathize with Furiosa's hatred. Objectively, creating an antagonist who also serves as a clown like Dementis is not a safe approach. Dementis is cunning and ruthless, but he is more bluster than substance, often speaking nonsense more than wisdom. He negotiates, even when beaten to a pulp. It's hard for the audience to feel frightened by him, to the extent that while watching the movie, I couldn't understand how this character could have been revered as a tyrant despite the dark background provided by the scriptwriters. Therefore, the conflict between him and Furiosa lacks tension because when the villain is more comedic and the protagonist is restrained in emotion and dialogue, whom will the audience connect with? Chris Hemsworth is well suited for this type of role, being decisive and rational, but also needing to be humorous. Watching Dementis immediately brings to mind an antagonist version of Thor. Ultimately, we have an Immortan Joe with less screen time and fewer expressions, but equipped with an impressive outfit, which is indisputable. As a kid, watching Mad Max made me automatically change the channel whenever this character appeared, and now, he still gives me the same creeps. Compared to Dementis, Joe is much more proactive and uses his brain effectively, truly deserving of the image George Miller has built for him in previous films. Being a Mad Max film, it must be epic, and Furiosa definitely preserves the characteristic. Not only that, but this installment also shows significant development and improvement. It still utilizes the old formula and perspective, leveraging grand scenes to enhance the frame's impact, interspersed with close-up zooms to showcase the valuable expressive skills of the cast. Objects that appear throughout also carry a strong Mad Max vibe, such as heavy weaponry, massive engine battle cars, and raw metal. And how could one forget the signature Mad Max combat and chase scenes? Indeed, with such grand staging, this series will never lack iconic battles. The action handling in Furiosa achieves a commendable level of perfection, worthy of a blockbuster film. Thus, you can be entirely confident about the visual experience of the film when you go to the cinema. My advice for those looking to enjoy Furiosa is not to hesitate to invest in an IMAX ticket, guaranteeing you won't be disappointed. Finally, the sound experience plays a supporting role in the film, nothing to stand out but meticulous and serves well to guide the emotional flow. The soundtrack and sound effects are harmoniously coordinated, not overshadowing the original elements while still regulating the film's pace effectively. With a franchise that has launched its 5th installment, it's inevitable that there would be concerns about milking Furiosa in the Mad Max saga. However, Furiosa has been given a large enough space to develop, and it would be truly regrettable if she were not allowed to tell her own story. George Miller has successfully stepped out of those prejudices and proved that the 88% fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes is fully deserved for his brainchild. Although it may not overshadow the landmark of Fury Road, we believe Furiosa could bring an Oscar to Mad Max, and Movie Honey gives Furiosa a Mad Max Saga a score of 8.5 out of 10. What do you think about these assessments? Share with us to let us know. Thank you for watching this video. Goodbye and see you again. Movie Honey out.